Hi, my name is Mark Walker and I'm the editorial director at the FinTech Times. We're here at Seamless Middle East in Dubai and we're recording here for Seamless TV. I'm going to ask first off by asking my interviewee, Jayesh, to introduce himself to you and the audience.
Thank you for having me. My name is Jayesh Patel. I'm the CEO of Weo Bank, the first digital bank in the UAE. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm also very excited to be here as well. We also have a Weo bank account ourselves here in the region, so we're exceptionally excited about that. So let me know, how did it all start? You know, and obviously there is, from a European perspective, we've always heard horror stories about businesses being able to open bank accounts here in the Middle East. So I guess that was where you kind of started.
Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit more context to it. The whole genesis was every industry is moving significantly towards digital. You know? And the UAE has a very clear strategy to become a digital leader. And when they looked at the capabilities that they exist, while they have very good banks in the country, one of the things they realized, to enable a digital economy, you need a digitally native bank. And that's not just a pretty app for customers, but a lot of infrastructure and other capabilities. So that's how the whole conversation started. Yeah, is we want to become a center of digital. What are the elements we need to achieve that? One of that is financial services and banking. And that was the genesis of the concept of Weo. Okay. Now, as we started digging deep into it, we looked at what is the first segment that really needs the help. And you're absolutely right. I think there was a massive gap between what businesses needed from their banks and what the offerings were out there. Yeah. So we said we're going to take a stab at that, use digital to make the experience better for the customer and to help SMEs grow faster in the UAE.
Okay, and I guess it's kind of interesting because Dubai and the UAE is a very international, multicultural area. What sort of trends do you see in the type of companies that are opening banks? Are they local domicile? Are they companies that have come into the region? What's the sort of split of type of SMEs that you're working with?
Yeah, so what we are experiencing right now, at least from the data we are seeing hyper growth right now. We are seeing three things. One is you have a lot of companies that exist here that are setting up new businesses, yeah, and so they are scaling up here. The second thing we are seeing a lot of new businesses that are set up outside, moving to the region. Yeah, so they're setting up offices here, they're setting up businesses. Some are relocating, and the third big avenue we are seeing is a ton of startups. Like you can see outside here, yeah, there's a ton of people with ideas coming and setting up here and building from scratch here. So we're seeing a boom in all three aspects of businesses in the UAE.
And I guess what you're looking for is, or the businesses are looking for, a very simple sign-up procedure. I know for myself it was very straightforward, but that's quite unusual here in the Middle East. That was not really very common.
Yeah, I think the onboarding of SMEs has always been clunky, if I may put it that way. Yeah, and I think there's two aspects to it. One is, I think the onboarding was never digital, was manual, yeah, and took a lot of time. The second is, if you look at the propositions regionally and in most markets, as an SME, you either get the app that was built for retail, but then is modified for you, or you get a corporate version which has been watered down for you. It's never natively built for you. So I think that is one big challenge that existed. I think the second big challenge that existed is, I think the traditional approach has been, I need to give you an account and I need to give you capabilities so you can transact. I think consumers' needs have shifted. You don't need just an account to transact. You need an enabler to grow your business. Yeah? And I think that's where we are focusing. Towards opening the account, getting access to transactions, that's the bare minimum. That's not really helping our businesses. We start helping our businesses when we start taking some of the pain away from you and help you run your business faster. And that's what we are working at in Weo. And we believe that will help create more long-term value and loyalty with our customers.
Yeah, and I think so things like, obviously within the app, you can generate an invoice.
Yes.
You can get that headache taken away. What's the future roadmap? Is it more into that accountancy sort of fear of, you know, paying bills, setting up purchase orders? Is that sort of an area that you're developing?
Yeah, so one of the things we call ourselves is the all-in-one platform. I think the one is really important. What happens is, often when customers use financial services, the systems don't talk to each other. Yeah? And whether you use a utility or you do an actual financial transaction like a transfer, there's commonality in that you have to budget for it well. What we are trying to do is bring all of it together in one platform. So like you said, we enable invoicing. Yeah, we're going to integrate with software for accounting. How can we match it up? How can we tell you, Jay is going to pay your invoice 15 days late? So how do we create a working capital for you so that you don't run out of money then? Yeah? How do we integrate all this and give you real insight so you can run your business better? For example, one of the customers I spoke to, his first startup didn't go too well. And the only reason he didn't go too well was he never budgeted. So when he got the big expenses like rent, yeah, or he had to replace an oven or import flour, he was a baker, he struggled to manage the finances. In our app, we look at this, we help you build up saving goals so you can plan your money. And the idea is we give you a single version of truth of it. And that's what we are working on. So the roadmap, we see more and more services, we see more intelligence coming. As we learn more about you, we can start becoming more predictive. I think it's less about features and more about how can we help you run your business better. So you work on the idea you started with, which was not working with the bank. Yeah, that was building your business, whether it's bakery, whether it's media, whatever it is.
Yeah, pardon the pun, but the banking experience should be seamless.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
And I guess from the point of view of where you're moving towards, in the Europe and the UK, we talk very much about embedded finance, personalization of finance. From a business perspective, would you be looking at going into insurance options, lending options? Is that on your roadmap for the future?
Yeah, so we are a full-fledged bank. We've started with business. We actually have our retail app in beta right now.
Okay.
There are many things banks do right and many things they can improve on. One thing they do very well is make money, yeah, globally. Yeah? And I think for many of the fintechs, it's important we learn from this. Yeah? For me, if you don't play on both sides of the balance sheet, it's very hard to create a sustainable business. You can create valuation, yeah, but it's very hard to create a sustainable business. So for us, it's important we play on both sides of the balance sheet. So lending is critical for us, and we'll be launching services related to lending. If you look at our business model, we have three pillars. One is the B2B and B2C apps we are launching. The second one is exactly what you talked about, embedded finance. You know? What you see in today's economy is there's the rise of digital platforms that are taking over every sector. Food delivery, yeah, healthcare, trade, and these things are the platforms where consumers are going to engage. So you no longer need to come to a bank to access financial services. We're going to work with these platforms to build the capabilities there. So embedded finance is a big vertical for us. The last vertical is banking as a service. If you look around here, there's a ton of startups. There's tons of companies that were not in financial services, but who want to embed some of these capabilities in their offerings. Instead of each one of them going and building this, we've spent a lot of money, we've got the smartest minds building these capabilities. We want to open them up. Yeah? For example, KYC as a service. We've built in very strong capabilities in this. If you are onboarding a customer and you're a retailer, why should you be consuming our KYC as a service? So that you can spend the resources you have focusing on retail and not the banking part of it. So we've got three verticals and we plan to grow on all three of them.
I guess I from speaking earlier, I think you travel quite a bit and look at other ecosystems as well. So perhaps you would be aware in the European side of things, that's kind of a route that many of our digital banks have gone. They've gone into the lending sphere, they've gone into the personal. So is there a sort of, do you think the implementation here in the region is kind of the same idea but implemented slightly differently? Is there dynamics differently here?
Yeah, I think a lot of the shift in banking is happening because of global technology trends. Yeah, and I think the region and most of the regions follow the same. Yeah, so yes, you see it in Europe, you're seeing it in Asia. I think Asia is leading right now. If I look at the markets, there's a lot of incredible stuff happening in Asia right now. So we look at all the markets and try to see what can we localize here? I was speaking to a venture capital fund a few weeks ago, and one thing they said, which was fantastic, was financial services doesn't migrate borders well. Yeah, they struggle to migrate borders, and there are few exceptions. Few companies globally who've done it very well, but because it's such a regulated industry, it's hard to move across borders. I think what you're seeing in Europe, what you're seeing in Asia, are evolutions of the model which allows it to scale faster. The traditional idea of if I have a bank here and I want to go to a new market, I need to open a bank, I think is getting more diluted. I can become a tech player in my second market. Yeah, I can become a marketing and value proposition offering and not necessarily the licensed bank. So I think this is beginning to shift, and I think it's opening up the possibilities of a bank. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah.
But I think globally the trends are not too dissimilar.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it's all driven by consumer behavior, and people are people, no matter where in the world they go to. Yes, they all need the same things. They need access to bank accounts. They need access to bridging loans and everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you look at consumer retail and business, it's spreading the global trends. Once they start in one market, they move into other markets very quickly. So you're absolutely right. If you want to serve the customers, these are their new needs, and you have to follow the model that works.
And thinking a little bit for the final question, the future of WoBank themselves, are you thinking of other markets at some point within the GCC, or are you going to stay where you are and just increase your product offering? What's the long-term vision?
So absolutely, we want to go into new markets. We are about 7 months old. We want to solidify here. We want to get feedback from customers like you, make sure we're doing all the right things. Once we have those ready, we want to grow in the region. We think there's fantastic opportunity. There's great opportunity in Africa. There's great opportunity in Europe, parts of Asia. So I think markets where we can go and add value, we are super keen to grow. We built a tech stack that is designed to scale. So it is one of our core objectives to grow into new markets.
I very much look forward to commenting on that journey as we go through that. And thank you so much for joining me at Seamless TV, produced by the FinTech Times.
Thank you very much for having me.